Now, you've no doubt heard this contagious song by the American singer-producer Pharrell Williams. So how can a brand capitalize on positive emotion? It's an interesting question. Well, Sunlight and the social network Mxit have teamed up, creating what they claim is a movement to unify South Africans through a video sharing campaign called Share the Happy. Kerry Alicks works for the Sunlight brand. She's the senior brand building manager and joins us now on Mags on Media. Catchy song, great opportunity. What did you see in this?
We had for a good few months been going, we want to do something that's going to have some impact on the world around us. So the opportunity kind of came together when we started looking at the brand being this brand about optimism and delight and happiness, and then we found the song and we were going, actually this is really pretty cool.
Let's talk a little bit about the mechanics itself. How did you use social media?
So look, the first part, which you could arguably say is the mechanic, is the fact that we said in the video, in order to donate to the Ubuntu Foundation, you've got to share the video. So I think there's something in that. We unashamedly spent on YouTube, and that's got a lot to do with it. What I quite appreciated with the campaign was that people were interested in sharing. It wasn't just, I'm sharing this because it's cool. I'm sharing it because it's cool, and actually it's going to go toward creating unity in the country.
Which leads on to the next question, that in order for people to want to do it, the message that you were putting out had to be authentic in its tone.
Absolutely.
You had to be using nation building because you as a brand believed in that. Often brands embark on something like this, but they don't really believe in what they're doing. It's a very expedient strategy that they're adopting. You obviously had a different approach, and the response has been positive, I understand.
Well, look, the response has been phenomenal. I mean, just the views alone, we were praying for 1 million views, and we've got to 1.2 million, which feels like a serious coup for us. The idea of doing something that is authentic is very important, and I can't say hand on heart that we've done it 100% right from the very start. But I think what we're doing is we're taking an approach. We're starting somewhere, and we're going, actually, Sunlight is one of South Africa's biggest brands. We need to start acting like it.
Is this going to sell more Sunlight? Is that the intention?
I don't know that it's going to sell more Sunlight. I think there's something about getting people to know about Bubble Man. That's part of what this needs to do for the brand. The idea that you're building this connection, that the brand is about optimism and is about being part of, entrenched in our country, I think that starts to resonate at some point.
All right, Kerry Alicks from Sunlight, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Now, you can let us know what you think about the Share the Happy video on Facebook and on Twitter. You can let us know what you think of Bubble Man as well. Nothing like a little seasonal marketing as we move on. In the dead of winter, well, the Häagen-Dazs brand adding some magic to a chilly Johannesburg night by helping a select group of ice cream lovers find their perfect travel match, as they also stood the chance of winning a once-in-a-lifetime trip to Paris. In marketing terms, touching and tasting the brand and a little incentivization, as you'll see, always goes a long way.
So at the beginning of the competition, we had a clear social media strategy. We knew that we wanted to get people excited. We wanted to create enthusiasm and talkability about the event. So we just started posting sort of teaser posts about the competition, saying things like, an experience made like no other awaits. You know, telling people about the competition, how to enter, you have to go to the microsite. But by that stage, we had so many new likes, we had so many new followers, and we really did do what we wanted to do, create talkability, and it was just an amazing success.
For a perfect travel partner, I want someone who's adventurous, I want someone who's humorous and not afraid to go ahead and do things randomly.
In a travel partner, I'd look for someone that's very similar to me, adventure-wise, thrill seeker.
I think the worst qualities in a travel partner is awkward silences.
The person that I'd like to travel with to Paris is someone that is spontaneous.
So, good evening and welcome. Tonight is going to be a whole lot of fun. It really is about finding perfect pairings, but also finding the perfect travel partner.
My ideal travel partner would be someone who's not finicky and hard work, and someone who's just easygoing.
Someone who's adventurous, someone who loves trying out new things.
A travel partner that likes fashion, a travel partner that's always laughing. I would really want a person who's adventurous.
It's me and Natasha Vanilla!
From ice cream now to beer, if in fact you can make the sensory leap, craft beer in South Africa has become a massive industry. As it grows, branding and design has become critical. Janet Kinghorn is creative director at the Brand Union Agency, and she joins us with some new insight on the sector and how the big multinational brewers are responding. Now, everywhere you look, it's in your face. Craft beer, here, there and everywhere. Why do you think there's been this huge explosion in this particular commodity?
I think they couldn't do any more with coffee. I think that people are looking for anything that's crafted and artisanal, bread, beer, coffee, food. And I think that people are wanting range. They're wanting something new. They haven't done a lot of stuff in the last, I don't know, 10 years.
So there was a gap in the market that was waiting to be seized. And as you rightly say, I think it's that desire, whether it be in beer or clothing or whatever the case is, to seize authenticity again. It would seem to me, though, that a lot of it is in the image that is created.
For sure.
And it's also around the naming of the beer. I was looking at some of the names. Wonderful things like Lumberjack and Saboteur. And to any beer drinker, you look at that and you're going to say to yourself, I want a piece of that.
Especially if you're bearded and living in a hipster community. You know, I think that it's part of the story. And I think, you know, that's our job in terms of branding is to develop the story and connect the references for people. So, you know, if you're thinking authenticity and you're thinking about craft, you're thinking about a certain type of material, you're thinking about a certain type of image. So those kind of names conjure up all sorts of stories. And that's kind of what people want to experience. They want to get into the story.
And that's brand building 101, isn't it? Create the narrative around something.
Yeah.
Having said that, though, you also work for one of the big brewers.
Yes.
So South African breweries and others have seen this coming, and they've had to develop a strategy around that. What have you been doing in that respect?
There's space for everything. And, you know, if you look at coffee, people are still drinking, you know, an instant version and a cappuccino and a filter, and
Maybe
for me
it's time intervals.
Totally. And so I think that there's needs for these different types of beer for different occasions, and so I think for SAB that strategy of kind of looking at those occasions has become quite critical for them to understand who they're talking to. You know, I think at this stage craft is still very niche, it's very high end, it's very premium, and I think that will draw a certain type of crowd, but you know, there's still a mass. You know,
I mean, point taken. I suppose any beer manufacturer is going to say, look, as long as people are drinking beer and not anything else, that's a good thing.
And in fact, I think it's had a great halo effect because it's telling people about beer. So if you think about the wine industry again, you know, how they've done a good job of you know, doing variants, etc., etc. You know, beer has kind of had lager and some ales and maybe a cider. And people didn't really know what that was about. So craft has actually helped the category.
Just in conclusion, reflect for me on the thinking around packaging design on craft beer itself. It must differ from mainstream thinking. Is it about the shape of the bottle and the label, or is there more to it?
They want to stand apart from the mainstream beers, and so they will make decisions around, for example, green versus brown, which, you know, in the past, brown was actually seen as a negative when it's actually better for the beer. And so craft has also done some really good work in terms of bringing that story to life. Things like substrates, things like, you know, if you think of And Union, they totally changed the category in terms of they pulled everything off and just had the name. That kind of thinking, or, you know, whether it's extra crafted, so I've seen some beers that look like playing cards, for example. There's a lot of detail and a lot of craft, which is supposedly mimicking what's inside.
And you can let your imagination run absolutely wild in that respect. Janet Kinghorn, I've got one thing to say to you. I'm sorry that there's only water in that Mags on Media mug, because I think you've given us both a taste for beer. Thank you very much for joining us.
Great.
Good talking to you.
Pleasure.
Next on Mags on Media, the much anticipated Digital Edge Live conference and what to expect this year.